Qualis pater, Talis Filius. Number 135. Welcome back. Today, we'll be looking at the Gospel of John and look at what Jesus says about his identity and purpose in the Father. So let's get started. John 8:12-20. Once again, Jesus spoke to the people and said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in the darkness, but will have the light of life." So the Pharisees said to him, "You are testifying about yourself. Your testimony is not valid." Jesus replied, "Even if I testify about myself, my testimony is valid, because I know where I came from and where I am going. But you do not know where I came from or where I am going. You judge according to the flesh. I judge no one. But even if I do judge, my judgment is true because I am not alone. I am with the Father who sent me. Even in your own law it is written that the testimony of two men is valid. I am one who testifies about myself, and the Father who sent me also testifies about me." "Where is your Father?" they asked him. "You do not know me or my Father," Jesus answered. "If you knew me, you would know my Father as well." He spoke these words while teaching in the temple courts near the treasury. Yet no one seized him, because his hour had not yet come. My thoughts. Qualis pater, Talis Filius is from an old Latin proverb, as the Father, so the Son. In contemporary words, like Father, like Son. Jesus was exactly like his Father. The problem is that the religious leaders of the day neither recognized Jesus nor his Father. They had a huge case of mistaken identity. It's one thing to make a mistake about someone else's identity, but it's an entirely another thing to be mistaken about your own. Jesus was sure of both his and his Father's identity. He knew who he was, and he knew who the Father was. I believe this is one of the foundational aspects of mental health. It is also foundational for having the confidence to weather the storms of life. In this particular instance, Jesus is being accosted by leaders who were considered to be experts on knowing God. And yet, they didn't have a clue. Their faulty concept of the identity of God directly impacted the understanding of their own identity. They saw themselves as privileged, pious men. God saw them as hypocrites. They saw themselves as righteous judges. God saw them as uncompassionate murderers. They saw themselves as educated men. God saw them as fools. And the list of incongruencies goes on. How do people land so far from the mark on their own personal identities? When one knows not from the well they came from, they are doomed to every kind of concept they can dream up. They did not know the source, and therefore they did not know themselves. That is one of the core reasons for knowing God. He is the beginning and the end of everything we were meant to be. One of Jesus' primary missions was to live an example that clarified this simple truth for us. We are made in the image of God, and truly knowing him and being known by him defines our identity and purpose. Stray from the source, and the only option is confusion and self-deception. If we pursue knowing him and his Father day by day, we will have clarity, direction, peace, and hope. In a world that has lost its mind, doesn't this sound like the antidote to the madness? For this reason also, since the day we heard of it, we have not ceased to pray for you, and to ask that you may be filled with the knowledge of his will in all spiritual wisdom and understanding, so that you will walk in a manner worthy of the Lord, to please him in all respects, bearing fruit in every good work, and increasing in the knowledge of God, strengthened with all power according to his glorious might, for the attaining of all steadfastness and patience, joyously giving thanks to the Father who has qualified us to share in the inheritance of the saints in light. Colossians 1:9-12. My story. I grew up thinking, if I do such and such, I'll be somebody. What I had to embrace is that I was already somebody in the eyes of God, and that my doing would spring out of that truth. Don't get me wrong, that didn't happen overnight, and truth be told, I'm still working on it. It's taken years of reading the Bible, hearing others talk about him and seeing them walk with him, and God himself stripping away the layers of faulty thinking like peeling back the layers of an onion. It's been a journey. But the first step in the right direction brought so much relief and clarity to life. It started when I released control of my life and let Jesus have the final say. When I humbled myself before him and confessed my sin and believed he had a better plan for my life. Then, the better I got to know him, the better I knew myself. If you're just beginning to try to find your way to God, stop reading and start doing what I've written about above with every fiber of your being. But my blog is primarily aimed at disciple makers, so let me exhort those of you helping others. Our primary effort isn't trying to recruit people to a church or ministry. We don't focus on getting people on board with a certain program or strategy. It's not even to make people into good boys and girls. Our job as disciple makers is to help people get to know God through Jesus and become his disciples. A disciple is not above his teacher, but everyone, after he has been fully trained, will be like his teacher, Jesus in Luke 6:40. Our action plan. Now it's time for application. Answer these questions. When Jesus commanded us to make disciples, was it to make disciples of us or him? How are you doing at helping people become more like Jesus? Make a plan to teach those you are discipling to make disciples of Jesus, not themselves. It seems like the whole world is having an identity crisis. But this isn't really anything new. We have lost our way since the Garden of Eden. The good news is that Jesus not only came to save us from our sins, but also to show us what our identity and purpose are. Organic writing. No artificial intelligence or sweeteners added.